So we're going to cover two topics surrounding Black Ops 7 today. One is what the user reception has been like since launch, with the user score tanking. And then we have the whole AI situation that has garnered tremendous backlash. And then beyond that, we're even getting government scrutiny as a result. So with Black Ops 7 having been out for 3 days now, we're starting to see what reception is looking like. When it comes to critics, from 18 reviews, we got a score of 83%. And then we have the user score, which isn't necessarily the most accurate indication of a game's quality, but it does spotlight what the community sentiment in general is like. And you can see the overwhelming dislike score of 1.8 from 725 user ratings. And I expect that rating to sit close to that for a while, even if we get thousands of more additional reviews, due to the fact that Call of Duty fans are disillusioned by what Black Ops 7 has presented. That makes Black Ops 7 among the worst user-rated games of all time. What you're looking at here is games sorted by user score, and I'm on the last page here. The worst user score ever belongs to Madden NFL 21. As for where Black Ops 7 places in all of this, well, this is the very last page, and just going to the penultimate page, you'll find Call of Duty Black Ops 7 right here with a user score of 1.7 is what is listed here. It is now at 1.8. I expect some fluctuation throughout the course of the next few days, but overall, that places Call of Duty Black Ops 7 in the top 50 worst user-rated games on Metacritic. And that's less about giving the game an accurate score and more about just the community trying to send a message because they're fed up with certain antics. And, in stark contrast to Battlefield 6, which does have a similar Metascore, though from far more critic reviews, 71 critic reviews, the user score is significantly higher, sitting at mixed or average at a 6.8, in large part because the campaign of Battlefield 6 was underwhelming, but it is a different kind of underwhelming, whereas Battlefield 6, what people are saying about that campaign is Battlefield could do more with its campaigns. It's underwhelming on that front. With Black Ops 7, people are going, what the hell is this campaign? This is not Call of Duty. The identity of Call of Duty is completely lost. It's not just about doing more. It's about just like being completely tone deaf to what Call of Duty is as a series and an IP. And then looking at the concurrent players on Steam, we can see right here that the peak did go up from like 70,000 to 100,000. And so it is doing a little better than the initial launch, but you can see right here the numbers are starting to trend down. And then beyond that, compared to Battlefield 6, it doesn't hold a candle to the all-time peak here of 747,440 players, and even the 24-hour peak of almost 300,000 players. And we're talking about a game that launched significantly sooner than Black Ops 7. Black Ops 7 is very much the newer game, and it's still trailing behind the significantly older game, Battlefield 6, due to the fact that people this time are finding Battlefield to be the more appealing first-person shooter franchise. They just really nailed a lot of aspects of it, and the identity of Battlefield at the very least, even if the campaign falls short, the overall identity of Battlefield feels like it's been revitalized and intact, especially in the multiplayer aspect of things. And even on Steam, you can see that the overall score for the Call of Duty portal that covers various Black Ops entries and Call of Duty Warzone and whatnot, even that score has been going down due to recent negative reviews that show overall mixed results among the fan base. And we've already discussed why people are making fun of the campaign. Footage like this has been going viral, with this one right here garnering 30.9 million views. And all you see in the responses and the quote tweets are people just mocking the campaign pretty extensively. And it's just a lot of people are feeling like this is not quite the Call of Duty people know and love. This is just so absurd as far as like scenarios go for a military shooter. Then there's the always online aspect of the campaign, which means that there are no checkpoints, there's no pausing, you can get kicked if you're idle for too long, and that's even if you're playing solo, not co-op, solo. And then beyond that, the always online functionality means that your campaign experience can get interrupted by updates and the like. And furthermore, your experience can get interrupted by people randomly being able to invade your solo campaign experience, with plenty of folks they experience playing through the campaign, being in the middle of a cutscene, and then experiencing random chatter from people who logged into their game and are trying to talk to you. And so it's just all of it is just really facing a ton of mockery. And then that brings us to the AI part. People were so done with Black Ops 7's campaign's direction, and also just unethical practices like the way they used generative AI to essentially steal artwork and just do a lazy job with some of the art featured in this game, which we'll get to in a bit, that folks have decided to attempt to refund the game from platforms like Steam. And as far as Steam is concerned, they actually were successful in getting refunds even after finishing Black Ops 7's campaign. As this user reports here, I finished the entire Black Ops 7 campaign, asked for a refund, and Valve granted it to me. I wrote, quote, "The game constantly utilized AI-generated options that were not present in the marketing for the game, as well as videos and screenshots of the material," which is actually true. All of the AI-generated assets were never shown throughout marketing, and people only discovered that stuff after launch, after they delve deep into the game. And so you can finish Black Ops 7's campaign, make this, I think, very valid excuse, and Valve will actually grant refunds. And one of the great things about Steam is that it has a very generous refund policy, one that's reasonable. As long as you're not, like 100 hours into a game and then requesting a refund. Usually, if you have a good reason, Valve and Steam will grant that refund as shown right here. And that's one of the reasons why Steam is such a preferred platform over many others whose refund policies are far more restrictive. But yeah, no doubt people use this knowledge to try to get their own refunds, with this post right here garnering almost 3 million views and tens of thousands of likes, almost 100,000 likes. So there's strong sentiments about this game not deserving the money of Call of Duty fans, who again just feel like they were almost like robbed because the direction of the game was just so jarring and just so not the Call of Duty that they initially fell in love with, especially the Black Ops series, which, has quite the following and fan base. Now let's delve a little deeper into the AI situation, which I discussed in a previous video. Plenty of people noticed that plenty of assets, core assets across the game, like calling cards, posters, reward icons, so on and so forth, were very clearly AI generated. And you can see right here one example where not only is it clear that they're using the Ghibli art style and the Ghibli AI generation that has become popular among folks who, like to use generative AI, but you can spot signs very easily, like the fact that this hand right here has 6 fingers instead of 5, fingers being something that AI has consistently struggled with in generating accurately. And yeah, this has been called out so much that this topic has gone viral, with tweets like these highlighting this whole situation, garnering, 3.3 million views and 54,000 likes. This next one right here, 8.5 million views and 23,000 likes. Here we have one more that's, almost 1 million views and 18,000 likes, so on and so forth. Here's one more for good measure, highlighting how this is one of the worst launches for a Black Ops game ever, with all the controversies and the campaign not really appealing to fans. This garnered hundreds of thousands of views and, 30,000 likes. This is where we're at with that discussion, where it's gone genuinely quite viral. And Activision's tried to respond, but the statement that they provided was just absurd and utter dog shit, with them saying that the reason they used AI tools was to empower and support their teams to create the best gaming experiences possible for their players. Literally every word that they said here is wrong. The AI tools did not empower and support their teams, because all of that stuff, the generative AI stuff, is replacing genuine artists who would do artwork like this for, not that much money, and would be thrilled to do it and would do a much better job. And then it's bad for players due to the fact that the use of generative AI usually yields just very poor artistic results, making for a worse product for paying customers and for players. And then beyond that, the integrity of the artwork itself, the video game itself, is severely compromised by the usage of generative AI that just does not have that human touch, which is so pivotal to art, to a medium like gaming. AI does not understand what fun is or what good art looks like. They just know how to, take amalgams of things that are out there and just spit something out. This is not one of those cases where AI is used positively, where the artist is at the forefront and AI is used as a means to, circumvent some of the more tedious processes and whatnot, but the artist is still the head of the artwork itself. This is one of those scenarios where the artist is shoved aside and AI is let to do all the work. And so yeah, in many ways, this parody statement right here is far more accurate than the, bullshit statement that Activision Blizzard has provided here. It is very much about downsizing, reducing headcount, and saving money, and pleasing shareholders, and engaging in lazy ass practices to increase their financial numbers. That's really what this is all about. It's not about empowering anyone. And so there's been so much noise surrounding this that it's actually caught the attention of US government officials, with a US congressman recently having spoken out about Black Ops 7's use of AI, and then just highlighting how there needs to be regulation for AI in general as a whole across all mediums. So this right here is Ro Khanna, who is a member of the U.S. House of Representatives from California's 17th district, who went out of his way to actually quote tweet Pirate Nation's coverage of this, highlighting how all this right here is AI, and had this to say on this issue, quote, "We need regulations that prevent companies from using AI to eliminate jobs to extract greater profits. Artists at these companies need to have a say in how AI is deployed. They should share in the profits, and there should be a tax on mass displacement." Ro Khanna then provided a second statement, quote tweeting Charlie Intel's coverage of Ro Khanna speaking out at all in the first place, and had this as a follow-up to say, "A company replacing artists with AI is not much different than one that replaces truck drivers. AI cannot just be for enriching tech billionaires. AI must be for us, not them." Now, it's interesting to see some of the counter arguments. So in the responses, we've got user David Friedberg highlighting and arguing that technological advancement is important, saying, what if the AI technology creates, enables, unlocks new, higher paying jobs? By trying to prevent organizational evolution due to technology, you're limiting technology's ability to create more value for workers. If you had done this with the emergence of the tractor to protect loss of jobs on farms, we'd have very expensive food, no industrial revolution, and a shitty standard of living for workers. If you had done this with the emergence of the automobile, we'd have lost the economic explosion that arose from highways, lower cost transportation, and countless networked industries. If you had done this with the emergence of the computer and the internet, your entire district would still be based on an economy of oranges and plums. But here's the thing, the argument isn't abolish AI technology as a whole. The argument is implemented ethically and with proper regulations so that the technology, which is a very powerful technology, isn't abused. Ro Khanna responded saying, "A tax code that doesn't incentivize excessive automation, working input council so AI is used for augmentation, rules so workers share in AI productivity gains, a plan to hire young grads who may less entry-level jobs or to hire displaced workers, a tax on mass displacement and guardrails against them. All these are provisions to ensure a technology revolution benefits ordinary Americans or just people in general." And that's the key. We got to find regulations to ensure the technology is benefiting everyone and not have one entity, especially a billion-dollar company or a single billionaire, abusing that technology for their own gains while leaving everyone else behind and in the dust. Which Black Ops 7 is an example of, when you could have hired artists to make some of those assets. Instead, you have generative AI create something really shitty and just leave artists in the dust while also plagiarizing other artists to generate the assets in the game through AI, like the Ghibli stuff. Things like tractors are tools that can benefit farmers. Things like cars are tools that can benefit everyone. Things like computers and the internet are also tools that can benefit the world. But all those technological advancements came with regulations and came with laws so that they could be used properly and not in a dangerous manner. So that's the point that's being missed here. It's not about stopping technological advancement. It's ensuring that technological advancement happens ethically and in a way where everyone benefits and not have a couple entities being able to, take that technology and abuse it. All technological advancement on some level do need checks and balances. That's what we're asking for, not the complete eradication of a technology. Now, in terms of the exact nuances of what these AI laws should look like, that's something to be argued. But I think the general sentiment is that some kind of regulation has to happen. Like, it has to start somewhere, because right now AI is just too rampant to run free. And it's creating a lot of either dangerous scenarios or a lot of scummy scenarios and ethically questionable scenarios. Now, I need to emphasize that not all use of AI is bad. Generative AI is just one form of AI implementation. But then you've got examples like this where AI has been used essentially as a plugin for Blender, Unity, and Unreal Engine 5 that can convert character motion in video into 3D data in real time. And this is something that was made free to use, and what this does is save you from having to buy really expensive motion capture hardware. As Mrs. Mediocre put it here, this is a perfect example of good AI. It does not replace an artist's job, it just replaces a $5,000 piece of hardware. This is actually a good example of empowering artists with this technology, where it's not replacing an artist, but rather it's giving them an easier and more convenient way to do something that they were already going to do in the first place, just without needing all this ridiculous equipment, and making the motion capture technology just a lot more accessible. And then another great example is one that y'all I'm sure are familiar with. It's the usage of AI upscaling. With NVIDIA, you've got NVIDIA DLSS, and with AMD, you've got AMD FSR. These are not technologies that are stealing from anyone. These are not technologies that are plagiarizing anything. These are not technologies that are replacing human beings and the work that they do, and artists and anything like that. This is a self-contained use of the technology that all it ultimately does is help Your games perform better and look better even if you have weaker hardware. Like, that's a great use of technology that ultimately benefits everyone without compromising human artistry or just without engaging in any ethically questionable practices. It's not the tool that's the issue, it's about how it's used. And in the case of Black Ops 7, it is just blatant theft, what they did there. Somebody just typed a prompt and said, give me Ghibli art, stole someone else's art style and artwork, and the generative AI just took an amalgam of stuff that Ghibli has done and spit something out, and then they just called it a day. There was no true human artistry involved. That was not unique art that was utilized, and as a result of that technology's usage, genuine artists did not get hired, and we got a worse product for it. You can tell just some of the laziness and some of the assets that were used, particularly the generative AI ones, that just look off. So it's not about the tool, it's about how it's used. Something like Photoshop, for example. On one hand, you can use it to make art a lot more convenient, being able to, use layers and the digital format, allowing you to like fix mistakes a lot more easily than if you were to use, a paintbrush with a canvas or, a pencil with a sketchbook. But Photoshop can also be used to create, really obscene stuff if you know how to do that. But the thing about Photoshop is that it takes a lot more effort to create, those kinds of obscene things. With AI, it's so easy to just type a prompt, and the adage of with great power comes great responsibility very much applies here. And that's why regulations need to be enacted so that AI as a tool is used for ethical purposes. Those tools are used in ethical manners, and there can be some checks and balances when it comes to, the potential exploitation of this technology, while allowing for the good aspects of AI to be able to kind of move technology forward and, make things a lot more convenient for users, for artists, you name it. Like, that kind of usage is something that a lot of people have no issue with. It's the other stuff, like what Black Ops 7 has done here, that people take a lot of umbrage with, and something that's becoming a more prominent discussion in not just the gaming landscape, but just in general. So seeing any kind of government official showing interest in actually enacting regulations, I think is, a good sign. Now, laws don't get passed easily. No doubt this will be a long-term endeavor, but again, we all have to start somewhere, and at least the interest in having the discussion for regulation from government officials who are able to enact change, I'd say that's a good start. And hopefully we can keep the ball rolling so that proper checks and balances are put in place for the less ethical forms of artificial intelligence usage. But all this to say that none of this has helped Black Ops 7's optics, from the user scores that kind of highlight where the community sentiment is at, all of the backlash surrounding the campaign and the unethical use of AI, and just the sheer laziness of just dropping Ghibli AI art that clearly wasn't even touched up by human beings, Activision's awful statement, and now even the government scrutinizing Activision. It's all just like the perfect shitstorm of bad PR and bad optics for Call of Duty. And hopefully this will inspire everyone, and especially leadership, to take the IP a little more seriously and to, actually try to one-up the competition, because Battlefield is completely trouncing Call of Duty because they just put a lot more care, and it shows. And they actually understood the identity of Battlefield, whereas Call of Duty just kind of really lost itself somewhere along the way. And not only the single-player campaign, but multiplayer, having freaking Nicki Minaj as a playable character in a military shooter and things like that. It's all become just too absurd, and they need to learn how to dial it back in and really rediscover what Call of Duty is all about, and give fans a product that they love without the laziness of generative AI and without the misguided kind of direction of whatever that Black Ops 7 campaign and its various absurd and supernatural scenarios were. But time will tell what the future holds for Call of Duty. It's a good thing it has competition like Battlefield 6 to inspire them to do better the next time around, and I really hope that they do. But that's one man's take. I'd love to hear what your thoughts and opinions are on everything surrounding Call of Duty in the comments below. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong Gao.